Well, welcome to Locked On Big Ten Live. I am Craig Sheeman. Penn State sleepwalking through the first half of today. They get by with a scare, and also the Ohio State Buckeyes and Wisconsin Badgers. What a first half that was. A live version of Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I am Craig Sheeman. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day, and especially during this live version here on a Saturday night. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And you can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to go back later in a minute and talk about the Penn State game against Indiana. And, of course, we're coming to you live here, halftime between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Wisconsin Badgers at Camp Randall. That game, of course, 10-3 at the half. We'll take a look at the whole Big Ten slate, as a matter of fact. And before we leave tonight, we'll have our first look ahead to next weekend. Big schedule on the Big Ten. Be sure to subscribe down below, especially if you're brand new, and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. So let's jump in. Let's have some fun. Let's talk about this here. And if you want to hit me up on the comments, I got them up here as well, live on YouTube. And first of all, this game, a big defensive battle. How about that interception there by Hallman with about 5 minutes to go in the half? I thought if that play doesn't happen, I think Ohio State almost wraps this thing up. They look like they were kind of getting the control of the ball game. I'll take it back to the beginning of the game, of course. Ohio State in the first drive, they were moving the ball. Kyle McCord ends up fumbling. Wisconsin recovers. Then Braylon Allen fumbles it right back to him to start the game. And eventually Ohio State gets some points and gets on the board with Jason Fielding and his 27-yard field goal, make it 3-0. That was about 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. And then Wisconsin, what luck. Braylon Allen fumbles again. Then he recovered it, though, thankfully for them. DK held on a bad pass on that play, so the drive stalled, and they punted away. But Ohio State, great coverage by Ricardo Hallman versus Marvin Harrison Jr. This is the matchup. This is the matchup all day, and they're both going to have some wins, and they're both going to have some losses against each other, and it's just remarkable. And then how about early on that punt return by Chimere Dike, 35 yards. Nathaniel Vacos missing a 54-yard field goal at that point, so it's still 3-0 Ohio State. Meanwhile, Ohio State had one thing I noticed about their attack, they were throwing the ball downfield. Kyle McCord throwing the ball long. I thought that was part of the game plan. Big chunk, 10, 20 yards downfield, a lot. That is part of their game plan. In addition, they're running the ball very well. Travion Henderson, who's missed 3 games, looks really good at running back. Looks like Ohio State can put together a few different strategies in this game if they want, but credit Wisconsin to still being in this football game for sure. Also, there was that weird scenario in the first half after the long throw to Harrison on the 24-yard line. And then the refs, they failed on the reset clock, or the play clock people at the stadium at Camp Randall. They didn't set it at 40 seconds. They backed it up to 25 and started the play clock there. All of a sudden, it's a delay of game on Ohio State. They're going, what do you mean? We just got to the line of scrimmage. They did get it corrected, thankfully, there. No delay of game for Ohio State. But then on the 3rd and 1, Henderson stuffed at the line of scrimmage by the Badger defense. That was good. But then they got the taunting penalty on top of it. So good play, everything's good, and they taunt. It's just a silly mistake. And now Ohio State's inside the 10-yard line and 1st and goal. But then Kyle McCord throws an interception to Preston Zachman. I mean, the 2 interceptions here, the one here by Zachman and the later one by Hallman, saving the day for the Wisconsin Badgers. Kyle McCord had thrown 204 passes without an interception at that point. So it's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. And a little give and take. Again, I'm paying a lot of time, spending a lot of time watching Marvin Harrison and Hallman go at it back and forth. But then Marvin Harrison wins battle, got that catch and run, the 16-yard touchdown, because, Hallman wasn't covering him on that play. They had switched on defense. I'm like, I don't know why they did that. Harrison takes advantage of it. It gets right into the end zone, making it 10-0 with 10:36 to go in the half. Wisconsin ends up punting. Ohio State's defense is looking good. And right about this time, it was interesting because then Wisconsin, to me, here's a little analysis here. They kept changing what they were doing on the defensive line at this point in the first half. Instead of rushing 4, they were rushing 3. I don't ever like rushing 3 when you got running backs like that. They only did that a few plays before they just put people back up toward the line. And that's when Hallman, with about 5 minutes to go, came up with an interception because it looked like Ohio State was knocking on the door to at least make it 13-0, maybe 17-0. And that, the way this night looks like it's going, that would be unreal if they were if they got down that much. I don't know that the Badgers realistically could get back into the football game at that point. Braylon Allen doing a great job of both blocking and running. Did you see him block that safety and knock him down on the blitz? Then he was making big runs. And then things got interesting with Skylar Bell. First of all, he makes that catch inside the red zone. It looked like to me he trapped the ball a little bit there on the ground, and they did not overturn that. I think the Badgers got a break there. But then they throw it to Skylar at the 1-yard line, but Locke's pass is low. He's got to go down to his knee and catch it. Well, in college, your knee is down, you're done. He walked right into the end zone when he got back up. But they said his knee was down. They overturned a touchdown. And ultimately, they had to settle for a field goal because Allen gets stuffed at the goal line again on 3rd and goal. They get the points, 10-3 at the half. Couple of dinged up players in this football game as well. JT Tuimoloau had to leave. Looked like he hurt his right hip there at the end of the half. And Braylon Allen, when he was stuffed, he looked like he was dinged up a little bit. So this is a very physical game at Camp Randall. Would love your thoughts. You can hit me up on comments live here on YouTube if you want. Also, hit me up on Talk Big Ten on Twitter. I've been on Twitter all day long if you want to catch me there. Don't forget our website, talkbig10.com as well. Want to go ahead and take that off because we're going to do some things here that I want to get into before long. In fact, right now, I want to talk about the Penn State game today as well. They came out sleepwalking against Indiana at Camp Randall today. And I thought they were a little hungover from the Ohio State game. I really did. Drew Allar threw his first career interception. He was under a lot of pressure. The Hoosiers front seven, and in particular the Hoosiers defensive line, did a great job today. A lot of pressure, a lot of tackles, stuffing some runs on a powerful running game that didn't get out of hand too much against them. And this game was tied at 24 with 2 minutes to go. After that interception, Indiana kicks a field goal. Game's tied at 24. So I know what Penn State fans, I'm going to hear from you. Everybody's going to hear from you. Penn State fans are going to still be frustrated with Penn State's lack of going downfield with big pass plays. They did have one late at the end of the game, though. Drew Allar answered that 57-yard pass play to Keandre Lambert-Smith. That won the game. That broke the 146 to go. Gets the touchdown there. Then they had the safety for the final margin, 33-24. But that's the second time all year Penn State has been able to go over 40 yards all season. It's the first time since their season opener. So they did get the big play when they needed it, but throughout the day, it wasn't there. IU was the one that hit a couple of big plays in this game. Manny Diaz's defense did not look great. They looked confused in the first half. Lack of communication. Brendan Sorsby, a couple of long touchdown, 90-yard touchdown pass to DeKeith Carter, and another one to Donovan McCulley for 69 yards. So 2 touchdowns there against the Penn State defense that were long plays, and something to be of concern, I think, for them moving forward. They gotta take care of that, because otherwise the Penn State defense has been fantastic all season. It was like I couldn't believe Indiana was doing this to them. So again, I still think it's a little bit of a hangover from the Ohio State game from the week before. It was a blitz play, as a matter of fact, that they didn't rotate any safety coverage on. And look, the Indiana defense did look good today. The defensive line, special teams were a disaster for the Hoosiers the second straight week. That let them down. They dropped a punt return when they could have had momentum early on. Penn State later turned that into a touchdown. IU missed a field goal today. There's 10 points right there off the top of my head, thinking live here. and, they lose the game 33-24. Those 10 points could have come in handy. IU still has they got to break it down to a 4-game season here. Wisconsin, at Illinois, Michigan State, and at Purdue. Look, if they play like they did today against Penn State, they can win those 4 games. If they don't, they can't. It's going to be a little bit of trouble. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the 2 big games of the day. We're halfway through Ohio State at Wisconsin, and of course the Penn State game against Indiana. There were other games. Plus, we'll have our first look ahead coming up in the Big Ten next weekend. 7 games on the slate, only 5 today. We'll get to all of them, and we'll get to some of your comments coming up in just a minute right here on a live version on a Saturday night of Locked On Big Ten. Athletic Brewing, they are something else. Athletic Brewing Company. They have completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. In fact, their award-winning brews beat out full-strength beers in global taste competitions. People couldn't tell. And the Athletic Brewing Company brews over 50 styles of craft and non-alcoholic beer, including IPAs, Goldens, and Sours. In fact, I have a version right here of Athletic Brewing Company. Here's what it looks like. Check that out. Anyway, they got everything you want, and they experiment with new flavors all the time. You go drink it while you're watching a game, watching your kids' game, because it's alcohol-free. Working out, no hangovers. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you. You can buy them online at athleticbrewing.com. That is athleticbrewing.com. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. And I don't know if you went to any games today and you're just watching them on TV, or you're watching us here on YouTube, but at some point you need to get tickets. Game Time is where you need to go. That way you don't have to worry about anything. They make it so easy to get tickets at the last second, even after the start of the game. Fast and easy way to buy tickets. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, and they show you the view of your seat you're about to buy when you look at that on your phone. It's really cool. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. I've told you before, I used to live in LA. Getting to an event an hour after it starts is normal. People do it all the time. Last second stuff with Game Time. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, and baseball. Also concerts, comedy shows, theater. They have it all. You want to check that out. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So here's what you need to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we continue here as we are live on a Saturday night. All the reaction to everything going on. Again, 10-3, the halftime score of the Buckeyes at Wisconsin. And, of course, Penn State Nittany Lions end up breaking. They won. Game was tied with 2 minutes to go with Indiana. They ended up winning, beating the Hoosiers today. Other games around the Big Ten. Let's start off with Maryland and Northwestern. Wow. This was a noon game today. Brendan Sullivan, he's come in due to injury a couple of weeks ago. He's now quarterbacking Northwestern. Threw for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ran for 56 yards. Northwestern beat Maryland today, 33-27. It was a cold, brutal day, and Northwestern was a 2-touchdown underdog. Nobody showed up. It was 19,000 fans on hand, so nobody saw it. And Northwestern wins. They're now 4-4. Yeah, 1 win last year. They had the hazing scandal. They fired Pat Fitzgerald. I think interim head coach David Braun, I've been saying this for a couple of weeks, I think he deserves the head coaching job. What he has gone through, what he inherited, and where he has done, he's steadied that ship. And next week they play at Wrigley Field against the Iowa Hawkeyes. By the way, did you like the unis today? Did you see them? They're all black from head to toe with dark purple numbers and then the gold border. I thought they looked kind of snap. First, I didn't like it, but as I looked at it further, it looked kind of big time. I think it was a good look for Northwestern. Meanwhile, there is a bigger issue at hand for Maryland. They started out 5-0. Look, they thought they were going to be up there with the Penn States and the Ohio States and the Michigans this year, and they would compete with the big three in the Big Ten East. Then now they've lost 3 straight all of a sudden. And guess what? They got Penn State next week. Whew, could be 4 straight, maybe. At least that game is at home for Maryland. It's like they got the air knocked out of them when they were hanging with Ohio State and then all of a sudden gave up 27 unanswered points. And they just haven't been able to regroup. They were even coming off a bye. Talia Tagovailoa threw for 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 6 times in that game. Minnesota beat Michigan State today, 27-12. Miserable looking day in Minnesota. Ethan Kaliak-Manis threw for 200 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jackson, I like him. 7 catches, 120 yards and a touchdown. And Jordan Newman, next man up at running back. He's a 3rd-string running back. He had only carried 6 times for 25 yards this year. He rushes for 204 yards and a couple of touchdowns. They've had Darius Taylor and Zach Evans. They've been injured. And so next man up, he steps up, did a great job. Meanwhile, Michigan State continues to be kind of a dumpster fire, to be honest. Caton Hauser in for Noah Kim at quarterback. I think Sam Levitt might get a chance now. Harlan Barnett's just trying to do everything he can. They've lost 6 straight games since Mel Tucker ended up getting fired there. Purdue at Nebraska. Nebraska won 31-14. This game really wasn't even that close, if you will, although Purdue made it a little bit interesting with a couple of touchdowns in the second half. Heinrich Harburg runs, passes. He did have a nice pass play to Jalen Lloyd, a 73-yard touchdown. That was Jalen's 2nd catch of the year, so good job to him. Tommy Hill and the Huskers, he had a couple of interceptions today off of Hudson Card, who I think has been very disappointing, to be honest. The transfer to Purdue this year really hasn't been able to get it going. The Huskers defense held the Purdue offense to under 100 yards passing and 100 yards receiving. That's a pretty good job. Matt Rule and the Huskers have won 5 of 6 now after dropping their first 2 games. And that's for the games. Now, also Michigan, remember they had the bye week this week. Word is NCAA investigators, we've been all over this story on Spygate here on Lockdown Big Ten. They've been in Ann Arbor this week, and they've been regarding the Spygate investigation. And what is interesting for me, for an organization that is notoriously slow, they seem to be moving fast on this one. I mean, they are combing through computers and everything over at the Michigan office this week, from what I heard. And I don't know if you know, I'll let you know that we got some hoops tomorrow, Sunday. Exhibition games. They're not on the regular ticket package. It was put together late, but it's all to help out wildfire recovery in Maui, because the Maui Classic is so important to a lot of basketball teams. So Tennessee is going to be at Michigan State tomorrow, and number 1 Kansas is going to be at Illinois. And it's all for a good cause, and you can watch it on the Big Ten Network. But I thought I'd bring that to your attention as well. All right, if we may, let's take a look at a couple of comments here. Going live, as we are live here on Saturday night. And Chris wanted to know if we were still going live at halftime. We usually start right at the beginning of halftime. We got started about 5 minutes into halftime today. So glad you're with us. Pavel says Wisconsin is probably going to win. Well, okay. Wes found your comment funny, though. He thinks no way. He followed it up by saying, I'm a Badgers fan. Let's be realistic. Look, I think Wisconsin is nothing to be ashamed of. Right? Their play, the effort is there, but it's just Ohio State, man. That's what I'm looking at when I see this game so far today. Maybe the second half will change. Seems like you're putting a lot of pressure on your team when you need 2 big interception plays to alter the flow of the game and hang in there. Because if you can't duplicate that in the second half, it's going to be tough. But more power to the Badgers, nevertheless. But thanks for the comments. You can keep them coming here on Lockdown Big Ten as well. Also, we want to remind you of a couple things. If you are new to Lockdown Big Ten, we're Monday through Friday. First thing every morning, we do an audio version, audio only, and the video one on YouTube. We send it out every morning, okay? Like realer. I think the audio one is up at 4 a.m. and the video portion is up at 6 a.m. So if you're a regular subscriber, go ahead and subscribe, the black button right now. If you're not, that way you'll get this available to you as soon as it's available each and every day. Share it, like it, tell your Big Ten friends about it. Get us in the club. We took over this channel in late June, early July. We had 1,200 subscribers. We're about to hit 4,000. In fact, maybe tonight, one of you could push us over 4,000. It's growing. Be a part of the club. Big bandwagon. Let everybody jump on. Also on Fridays on this Locked On Big Ten YouTube channel, we've got Locked On College Football Kickoff Live. It's an hour. It's a lot of people on the Locked On family are all tuned in to all this, and they help out. I help out. I'm on there for a couple of minutes previewing Big Ten football, but it's pretty cool. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, live, 11 to 12, and then you can catch the tape version whenever you want. It's left there on our channel for you to view whenever you want. So with that as our backdrop, I want to take a peek ahead. Coming up, the schedule gets interesting starting next week. This weekend was a little different, right? We just had the 5 games. Got the one going on right now, which I think is the game of the day, and with Camp Randall, with the Buckeyes taking on the Badgers. So we will get into what's coming up next week in just 1 minute right here on Locked On Big Ten. I want to tell you about Prize Picks. This is really cool. It is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pair some players and some stats, and you can say more than or less than. You're going to acquire more of these stats or less of these stats. It's just you and the numbers. You're not betting, you're not doing anything like that against anybody else. It's just picking numbers is all it is. For example, Monday Night Football, we got the Raiders and the Lions, right? You got Josh Jacobs. You can pick Josh Jacobs and more than 60 yards rushing, and Jared Goff, less than 2 touchdowns passing, perhaps. I'm giving you an example. If you hit on both, collect your winnings. It's that simple. You can impress your friends and, of course, get your winnings as well. What you need to do is go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. So let's take a look at what's going on next week already, as you're getting ready to get back into the action of the second half of the Buckeyes and Badgers at Camp Randall. First of all, the Ohio State Buckeyes, they got a noon game against Rutgers. Rutgers, this is on CBS. And Rutgers is not to be taken lightly. They're bowl eligible, all right? They're good. Greg Schiano's doing a good job there. They got a stingy defense, and it's at Rutgers. Going to be an interesting game for the Ohio State Buckeyes, I think. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, they're at Indiana. That game's in Bloomington. Indiana, I thought, played their best game of the year today up at Penn State. Tough place to play. So maybe they're starting to put some things together there. Nebraska is at Michigan State. That's a noon game on FS1. Again, Michigan State's got all sorts of trouble. I don't know if they go to Leavitt, their third-string quarterback on this one, but Nebraska's playing well. What'd I say, 5 out of 6 they've won after dropping their first 2. Penn State is at Maryland at 3:30 on Fox. The good thing for Maryland, it's at Maryland. Maryland has dropped 3 straight, as we were talking about a minute ago. Man, that's a tough game for me. You start out 5-0, and if Maryland loses this game, 5-4, that's got to be a bummer. You know, I think Maryland had high hopes for this season, and then they were hanging there and actually beating Ohio State, thinking, yeah, we do belong. And then the air came out of their sails, gave up all those unanswered points, and they haven't been the same since. I think they felt like their goals slipped away, and I don't know. Something is off. Something is wrong at Maryland right now. Illinois is at Minnesota. That's at 3:30 on the Big Ten Network. Iowa is at Northwestern. That is at Wrigley Field. That's on Peacock at 3:30. And then Purdue is at Michigan, 7:30, the NBC game. And I can pretty much bet you right now we're going to be going live here at halftime of that game as well. Michigan, of course, coming off the bye week. Who knows where we will be with Michigan football at that point after another week of investigations and press conferences. Could be interesting. So we'll cover it all. In the meantime, many ways for you to interact with me throughout the week. All right. Twitter at Talk Big Ten. You can also hit me up on our website, talkbig10.com. That's all with the number 10, talkbig10.com. And also be sure to subscribe down below. Subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app, and you get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. And next week, we'll get right into Monday. We'll probably recap this weekend a little more in depth. And then the rest of the week, start previewing ahead what's coming up next weekend. And whatever happens with Spygate, we'll be all over it. That I can promise you. So we'll have that. Want to invite you to check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for the latest on everything going on in sports around the country. And I hope you have a great day, great rest of the weekend. And again, if you're new, thank you very much for checking us out here today on Locked On Big Ten. Like I said, we do this every day, Monday through Friday. You're invited to join us at all times. We do these special live ones over the weekend as well. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten live